Welcome back to the coolest group on the face of the planet, the Senna House Buyers Preferred Investor Group. Great way for you to come, learn, engage, get some feedback, get some knowledge. We're dropping knowledge bombs every day over here. So obviously we had a little bit of a storm here in the last 9 months, and a lot of people, especially from out of town, are something's going on. It looks exciting here. A lot of people, especially from out of town, are interested in buying flooded properties. So let's talk about that. There's a lot that goes into buying a flooded house. I actually don't need this, I don't think. There's a lot that goes into buying a flooded house. So before you think, I would never do that, I would never buy a flooded property, it's a risky proposition, you're right, it is. It's very risky. But if you get some basic knowledge on it, you can be able to take advantage of that. So if there's anybody out there that has personally flooded, I know exactly how devastating that is. When the flood happened, most of our team, we spent the first 2-3 weeks, we weren't even doing anything other than going out and helping people. We were in the community, we were helping tear out houses. My parents' house actually flooded. I was helping them get their stuff put together. We actually just had Easter at my mom's house. It was the first time we got together as a family back in the house, and it was a really cool time. So we feel for you. We know exactly what that feels like. So from an investment perspective, we're going to talk about the numbers and cents of it. Let me tell you why it's a good idea to buy some flood properties. So let's say you're in the area like Bear Creek. Okay, Bear Creek got hit pretty hard. And let's just assume for now, we've seen it all over the map. We've seen houses that have sold for more money than what they were worth before the flood. We've seen houses that have sold for less money than what they were worth before the flood. So it's kind of all over the place. Here's the deal. If you're going to buy a flooded property, if you're going to buy a property in Houston in general, get flood insurance. Okay? If you're in a floodplain, it's going to be expensive. When you get that insurance bill, it's going to hurt a little bit. It is so well worth it. Okay? The reality is Houston's in a floodplain. Okay? We're all in the floodplain, whether the FEMA maps say so or not. So get flood insurance on your property, and let me tell you why. I want to walk through a conversation we had early on after the storm. We were in Bear Creek. We were talking to an investor. He had a few properties. He got a letter from us, and after a couple of minutes of conversation, he basically told us, look, I'm not going to sell the house. I just kind of wanted to see what was going on, what you guys were seeing, what you guys were thinking in the market. And I said, well, why don't you, I didn't say it, somebody in our office said, well, why don't you want to sell the house? I said, look, man, I got flood insurance on this thing. It was flooded every time the last 3 floods. Every year, every time it floods, I get $90,000 from the insurance company to fix the house up. Every single time, it cost me about $45 grand to fix that house. So this guy is able to make money off of the insurance policy because he's able to get the work done for less than what the insurance company is going to pay out. Is it expensive? Yes, it's expensive. But he's literally making money every time. So if you are protected and if you know what you're doing, you can get flood insurance and protect your investment from the financial downturn of a flooded property. It is obviously less emotionally stressful to go through that if you're not living in the house. The people that are living in there, it's a lot more of an emotional toll on them. So that comes into effect as well. If you don't have a stomach for that, then I would not suggest you buying any flooded properties, okay? So the other benefit to buying a flooded house is if it's in an area where you're seeing that these houses are selling for less than what they were worth prior to the storm, the market has a terrible memory, okay? Bear Creek's another great example. If you look at what properties were trading for before Harvey, the ones that flooded in tax day and Memorial Day were selling for the same price that properties that have never flooded before in the history of being built. Okay? 2 storms in the 18 months prior to that, and they were selling for the same price as everything else that had never flooded before. That tells me that if you're able to buy a house at a discount because of a flood that just happened, more than likely in the next 18 to 24 months, that property is going to be back to its original price, which means you get some forced appreciation. If you follow these videos and you watch the 5 or 6 ways that real estate pays you, appreciation was one of them. In that example we used, we did 3% as appreciation. If you buy something that has a flooded discount of 10% now, in 18 to 24 months, you're going to get about 10 to 12% right off the bat, just from it coming back to the normal market value, disregarding any regular appreciation gains in the market. So get yourself educated. Ask questions in this group. Follow people like Senna House Buyers, like other investors who have bought in flooded areas. You can get this work done, and it's not as bad as it seems. Some quick tips on buying flooded property. Make sure that you are aware of the history of that property. Is this the first time it flooded? Did it flood from the storm or did it flood from the release of the water? Has it flooded multiple times or not? I already said that. Um, get educated on what it takes to remediate and dry down a house. You do not have to go and spend $15,000, $20,000 to get a house dried down or remediated. You can call us. We can help walk you through that process. We've owned flooded properties, okay? Get a freaking dry down certificate. The reason you want to do that is if you have somebody come in, they certify that house dry and mold free, cost you about $750. When you go to sell that property, now you have a certificate that gives the liability to somebody else. So if a homeowner says, well, hey, I've got mold and this property flooded, you didn't do it properly, now you can say, well, no, Mr. Buyer. This is the person that said that this thing was certified mold-free and dry. So you can give the liability to somebody else and protect yourself. And again, like I mentioned in the video, get freaking flood insurance. I think anybody in town should have flood insurance, whether you're in the floodplain or it flooded in Harvey or not. Just a lot of people flooded in this storm that weren't in a floodplain and they got just hammered and they got put in a really bad financial situation. If you're in that scenario, let us know how we can help with that. So again, flood properties are great to buy if you know what you're doing and get educated. If you don't have the stomach for it, I don't recommend doing it. Get flood insurance. Buy these properties, fix them up, and get a dry down and a mold-free certificate from a third-party servicer. So this was really, really high level. If you guys have more questions, obviously feel free to comment. If you bought any flooded properties, I would love to know how that ended up turning out. Did you sell it for more or less than what you thought the pre-flood ARV was? That's still a big question that's in the air that there's not a lot of data on. So if you have one of those examples, put the details in the comments below so everybody can learn from it. I'd love to talk about that stuff. So again, thank you for being a part of the group. Let us know what kind of things and topics you want to be talking about and how we can help you. And please try to make some money off of Senna house buyers this year. Talk to you soon, guys.